Hey, in my nut house, trying to avoid trauma-based mind control, behavior modification, um, enduring eugenics agenda, TI, target audience, degrading Oregon, um, the taking advantage of folks that were unaware of the technology and things like that, and during the day-to-day, and it's difficult. I've seen some deep captured facilities that looked like they were deep captured, and synthetic telepathy situations where you walk down the street and you can tell somebody's I mean, this happens here, synthetically telepathic, and oh yeah, this definitely happens here. Um, and they make, like, with the sound weaponry or whatnot from broadcast, and it could be misdirection. It couldn't even be coming from the person. Like Kevin Christian describes, like a him doing some of his YouTube discussions and being in a park and talking about how with the sound weaponry, like a sound in the park could be layered in over with sound from the broadcast that's faster than sound, so it catches up and laces in with the existing sound, so it sounds like you're like a bird's talking when a bird's not talking. It's part of the broadcast. 1.5 million in USTI estimates, about 5 million doing it, estimated. The EMF perp and international forces unknown, and the synthetic telepathy agenda unfolds at breakneck speed, and got a big L, a loss for even incarnating. I feel like on that front, becoming a TI myself. Some people may need to be TI with all of this stuff that I think I know a little bit better about the EMF and what's there when you pull the Constitution away, and brute force and diplomacy at the end of a gun and stuff I can't control anyways. And I was a political dissident, like textbook, that the intelligence community have been cutting down on their youth for decades, hundreds of years. Recorded history, I don't know, like, so I'll try and be professional or otherwise, not succumb to trauma-based mind control and behavior modification. They're really trying to torture white nationalism, trigger people, have false flags, terror, anti-terror, which amounts to torturing me and the TI mostly. The other TI, electromagnetic terrorism, and the fifth estate of being tortured. Arhut, never seek to incarnate again. My big picture thinking could have done wonders for the US in all good ways for others, and provision from a birth. And I was cut down in my youth. And I don't want to look back too much on that and enjoy good moments of peace and quiet, prospects of maybe getting my own headsets to steal my head back from these international synthetic telepathy agendas, and if not, ride out the next 20 or 30 years, secluded probably, and not having a constitution or a bill of rights anywhere I am in my home spaces, possibly continue to be perped, and then dynamite my head. It's legal to death with dignity out in Oregon, and I can't own a gun, because of the synthetic telepathy. It's taking that right away. So that's, I'm going to go out in like 20 or 30 years. So until then, I'm going to try and be less of it made of a useful idiot, but I'm a non-consensual synthetic telepathy slave, and there's like 5 million EMF beings or perpetrators that can be anybody, that can pop into your nose, that can try to control your behavior, like make an itch appear on your skin so you scratch your face right there. Total individual control from the EMF for all ill and no gains, I feel like, for the 3D folks. Talk to folks that have been handled. It's some of the worst part of human experience out there. So I'll try and keep it cool and not have problems, not respond to problems being made for me for reactions that have already been anticipated well above my pay grade, and like military science and shit, for shelved plans they already had, and outcomes predetermined that I can't control, and just try and keep my head tortured less, and maybe not used and abused so much. That's aspirational. I mean, I'm a targeted individual torture object. 5,000 units have been used against me as an ill-identified enemy combatant when I never was such a thing. I'm not a career criminal. I'm not a military expert. I'm not an intelligence officer. I'm not a police officer. I'm not a fireman. I'm not an EMT staff. I'm not an MD. I'm not a psychopath. I'm not a sociopath. I'm not a narcissist. I'm empathetic, and that gets tortured out of me, as can anybody with electromagnetic torture. So, long-term stratagem of living 20 or 30 years I want to execute, and it's day by day, minute by minute, and I'm tortured every minute of the day, twice, 2-3 times a minute, and yeah, so I don't know everything, and there's so much misinformation and speed of thought and videos going up that people upload. Oh gosh, if I can make a recommendation to TIs like Kevin Christian and others like myself, I need to get a voice to text app and use myself, so that if I upload anything to YouTube, there's my voice and text going along with it. So if anybody tried to do a word twist in the video or alter it, it would be harder, not insurmountable by these much more advanced tech than, this is kind of funny, but like trying to read the stubble of newsprints where you use a roll of ink to write on a page a letter, and then to get what the letter was written, you take the ink cartridge out and do the spy game that way. No, that's comically, actually probably dangerously a misdirect from what Kevin Christian describes, EEG readings of your brain, people looking out your eyeballs, having your life experience on headgear and other locations, surveillance from satellite, being able to see through your body from the EMF, like all kinds of spectrums, broadcasts in and out, the sub-reality and all that stuff, and then worse yet, redundant systems of like, and then they got the cell towers, or the this or the that, just close. It doesn't feel like it's closing in on me. It closed in on me 15 years ago when the U.S. government pulled assumed privileges for protection from the intelligence communities and whatnot. And so, in a way, for the fifth estate of torture, I also got drafted or brought into the war. So, trying to cool my jets on that. And it's been synthetic telepathy and illegal sender-receiver relationships, just like how is simplified, detailed on the University of Washington website about exactly this gear that was being used on Kevin Christian in Atlanta. And then he posted the University of Washington press release, and I found openbci.com, and that's been some time ago, but I've tried to tell as many people as I can is a possible finish line mitigating solution for having people put an NLP in your head who you never meet and have secretly can't get caught. And so it's a difficult life being a TI. Would I take back maybe a half a dozen poured votes when I was a political dissident or whatnot? Would have I chosen a different major? Yes. None of it was worth it. And then in the end, they'll suck up all my work anyways, call it their own, or sink it away like so many patents bought up to be kept away from the market for ill reasons, from like the electromagnetic frequency. They may be non-bodied and real people in other locations, but they can make an absolute fool of anybody with this technology that's like 3D and not a monitor consciousness that has like 360-degree views and other stuff I don't totally understand, but or speculations on their point of view of us. So maybe I'll look at a little beat up, maybe I should have washed my face or something, but I'm 40, I've been tortured for 15 years. It's worse than death. It's worse than getting shot. And that's my life, waking life, every day. And to exploit, they know not what they do. And like maybe even algorithmic understanding of loopholes in the Bible and shit like that stuff. I didn't spend 2019 years trying to figure out how to screw Jesus about, but the NLP keywords that folks like from the InfraGard or fusion centers or whatnot that show up and say this one thing to this one person in this way, like they really don't know what they're doing or what they're saying or what they're walking into, and some shakes out of the B system. And it causes a lot of trauma to the TI, the sustained electronic harassment and whatnot. And, you know, it's just more distractions from like the war crimes or like Project Phoenix that's going on, or the EMF perp being revealed in 2019 in more sustainable more salient, long-term preservable ways that maybe in previous history, like more people know about it and stuff. And the complexities of the largest experiment in anarchy in history is what they called the World Wide Web. Okay, so it's about 15 minutes. That's when I can control my own mind space long enough to use my faculties as I normally would have, still getting NLP every 15 to 20 seconds, and then censored thoughts and then extracted thoughts that I have to come back later and try to remember because I lost my free will of my mind, body, and they want my soul 15 years ago. It's really corrupt what's being done. And I'm more than a noun with a nervous system. But that's, tactically and strategically and obsessively and as an addiction attacked. Yeah. Other TI have like worked for federal agencies and been like a whistleblower, and then they get tortured. Or other things like that, Christian disposition, trying to apply virtue over sin and getting the secret hammer to the back of the head from a intel agent who is sitting on a headset, in the EMF around your office and can't be killed, and can't get caught. And it's just there, a seething psychopath, sociopath, narcissist just waiting to harm you. A walking couch that's no more valuable than the inanimate objects in your office. I'm not a psychopath, a sociopath, or a narcissist. I get tortured by them.